even care. I just really want
Let's
to jump
not
into
worry
it.
about the counting anymore.
Yeah, let's just do this because I'm more excited about getting into Death Note
Mhm.
because Death Note gets really freaking good and we need to jump on this. Like,
Okay, hopefully after this point. I mean, it's been good, but there was one episode here that was probably the most egregious filler I've ever seen. But
um,
7, but we'll get to it.
okay, yeah, I actually disagree with you, but
Okay, we'll talk about
I'll totally get into it. So let's start. Where are we going? Episode 5.
episode 5.
And so it's called Tactics. By the
Mhm.
way, if you don't know, we're watching Death Note. We're doing episode 5 through 8. This is intro to the wonderful and crazy world of anime.
Yes.
We've been
Hangout,
on a very long hiatus.
and we're gonna stop counting the hangouts now because it's getting kind of comical. We're just gonna keep saying we're in the 20s, and we're gonna be like in the 40s someday.
Yeah, we're in something. How about
Yeah.
that? So, episode 5, I like how it opens up
Yeah.
because it kind of does like a really short summary of the previous episodes.
And it picks up immediately after, which they haven't done before.
Yes, and I like that. So we open up. Ray has just shown his ID to Light. He tells him, "Hey, I'm with the FBI." Blah 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 blah. And Light's like, "Got him. I got him where I want him." And unfortunately, like Ray just like gave himself a death warrant. He just signed his own death.
Yeah.
So and he comes back to the hotel and he starts telling his fiance that, this situation happened. And she's like, that's kind of weird. Like, you just jumped into this situation and next thing you know, there's a hijacking and now you are like having to show your ID to somebody.
Yeah.
It just seems all too coincidental to be coincidence.
She's the character, and you get these in sci-fi and particularly in fantasy. The character who kind of can see it from the top down and see all the weirdness, who nobody listens to.
And I will tell you, I didn't like. Anyway, I'm not going to jump into it yet because we're not even there yet. So anyway, but yeah, I had to turn up my volume because my volume was driving me crazy. So, all right, so.
She can see it from the top down and kind of sees how everything is kind of a bit too coincidental and something odd is going on. And she's starting to talk about her analysis of the situation, and he's just completely not listening. And he says it's because he doesn't want to put her in harm's way, which I understand. But he's not even going to listen to her take on the situation and act on it.
And we get this establishment that she's like also an FBI agent.
Yeah.
And so, she has a kind of gut intuition that says maybe you should be a little bit more careful. Maybe, and then he's like, listen, I told you, you could come with me because we're going to meet your parents because I want to get married to you. So he's like in this very almost fantastical ideology of what he thinks the world is going to be like. And it made me really sad.
Yeah. Because I think maybe because they've just gotten engaged. I get the impression it was a recent engagement, and he kind of now sees her in it as the wife.
Right. He's not looking at her as like a colleague that might have more of a sense about what's going on, and he ignores her warnings and decides that he's going to just kind of be like, oh, let's talk about babies. I was like, all right, so you're going from a guy who was hijacking a bus and he's a criminal and then he gets killed.
Very convenient situation when you have a killer on the loose who can do some kind of fantastical stuff.
Right. And now you just want to talk about babies. All right. So, so Light is, really kind of, all right, now that I've done this, I'm going to play around with the Death Note and see what kind of options I have. Because he's not going to outright kill him. Because then, that would just be too easy.
And too coincidental right after the bus accident.
And and obviously too obvious. So,
and right after that scene with the fiance, they cut to a brief scene of Elle. And I noticed that his computer is far more detailed than anything else in the show. They must have like had a deal with Apple or something, because it's obviously a G4.
I think what they did was, I think because L is such an important character. I mean, he's
Yeah.
you know the other main character, if you
Right.
will, that they had to kind of give him the tools that would make the most sense.
Right.
You know?
But the fact that I can name the make and model of his computer was a bit ridiculous. It's like they had a brand deal.
Well, yeah, I guess, but you think about it, it makes sense. I think it was 2007.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it
it
came
would
out,
be kind of
so
top of the line at the time, yeah.
absolutely. So,
But yeah,
go ahead.
Light confronts Ray on a sidewalk. Ray is walking down the sidewalk. He hears a voice behind him. It's Light, and he's basically telling him to stay where you are. Don't look at me. I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to follow my instructions, or I'm going to kill your fiance.
Yeah, I'm going to jump back for a second.
Oh, okay.
One thing that I liked was how detailed Light is, and he just further gets detailed. I wish Jonathan was on this call. I really do, because I know that he really wanted to talk about particularly this part of how, let's just get down to it, he ends up killing Ray Pimber, but the way he does it.
Oh yeah, we were all raving about the ending of this episode.
It was so amazing that the guy had this much foresight,
The complexity of this killing is brilliant.
Well, I mean, he did about a week's worth of research and experimenting to kind of figure out, okay, what is the limit of what I can do with this tool, And he figured out that he has a lot of ability, more so than he thought, in terms of the way people die and if they can take out other people with them, type of situation, because he finds out that you can add more names to the death note. So he realizes that he doesn't just have to kill in a specific way, but he can also kill other people.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. So he gets Ray Pember in a situation where Ray is isolated. And then he's able to convince Ray that he needs to do everything he wants him to, otherwise other people are going to be killed.
And now I have to be the nitpicky guy who, looks at everything without any suspension of disbelief. And okay, so Light walks up to him behind him on the sidewalk and says, stop, don't turn around, listen to me, or do everything I say, or I'm going to kill your fiance. But they're just standing there, standing still, talking on a crowded sidewalk. Nobody pays attention to them. Nobody overhears them.
Well, in Japan, I don't think it would happen that way. Honestly, I don't think anybody would even stop.
Maybe nobody would overhear them, perhaps, or pay attention, but they're stopped in the middle of traffic. They would just walk around them.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've witnessed that myself.
All right.
Situation. So I think you overestimate how aware people would be. They're more like ants.
I'm one of those, DTA suspicious types who notices everything. So.
Well, yeah, but not. Yeah, most people are just kind of to themselves. Are not paying attention to like the inner workings of what's going on around them. So there's not a whole lot of social awareness. So, if you're a socially aware person, you might pick up on that. But if you're more of somebody who tends to kind of just, especially if it's like a really busy, crowded area.
And Japan is particularly crowded.
Right. So you're not really thinking about it in terms of breaking down like, oh, wait, what's going on in the middle of this here, So I really wanted to also mention that Light is giving clues to L in the experimenting that he does of killing other inmates. And he talks about how, did you know gods of death that are real and that they like apples? He's giving him all this like extra stuff and just totally fucking with L. Like L is just like, So then where am I here? Okay, so now Light is kind of like toying with Ray Pember too, because he's like, oh, I can kill anybody I want to. This is, I can do anything, So he's talking about all this stuff, and then he was telling Ray or that he knows about her, but noticed he actually doesn't know about her because he doesn't know that it's a fiance. He knows that there's got to be somebody else involved in his
taking a risk that Ray is involved with somebody, and he's gonna do whatever Light says in order to save her life.
Right, and so I think Ray kind of took that bait, if you will, because if Ray had been like, "There's nobody, I don't know what you're talking about," then maybe it would have thrown.
If he was single, or if he was gay, or something, it would have.
Exactly.
But it was a gamble on Light's part that happened to work out.
So Ray actually admires his attention to detail because he talks about how he picked a crowded area, he picked like all this situation, and he really is just kind of amazed at how like perfect everything was set up. And he explained, and Light goes on to like monologuing and explaining kind of how he did the hijacking.
Leandre just said he'll be joining soon, so.
Oh, awesome.
His meaning Ranlight.
So now Ray is, he's like, okay, I'll do whatever you want, just don't hurt her. She's really important to me, blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, so I want you to write down like all the names of your list that you're going to get. You're going to open your computer, your FBI computer, and it's going to pop up all of these names that are all on the targeted agent list or whatever. And I want you to write them all down, blah 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 blah,
and write them all down in these windows on this piece of paper that's on top of another piece of paper, which was interesting. I guess they were taped together in such a way that it didn't seem obvious, I suppose.
Right. Well, and little does Ray realize that he has written out everyone's death sentence on the death note. Goodbye. So,
including his own.
Himself, he thought that he could, that Light can't kill them with just their names. He thought he needed to see their faces and their names. So
and Ray knows their faces.
Right. And now he says, okay, now I want you to stay on this train and leave the envelope on the train, and until the end of the line, you can get off. And I wrote here, sorry, Ray, you were never getting off the train.
And he reveals himself to Ray as Ray is dying.
Yes. And the whole time, poor Ray is listening to this voice and thinking to himself, I know this voice. I know this voice. I know this voice. Where do I know this voice? And if he had just, I guess wanted to say, if he just took a second more before jumping, because he reacted the entire time. He didn't have the control seat. He wasn't in, he gave Light the power from the very beginning. As soon as Light called him on the phone, he gave him the power.
As soon as he threatened, Ray's fiance, he kind of panicked. Ray, kind of panicked instead of analyzing the situation and kind of stalling, until he could figure out whose voice it was.
So that's the end of Ray. Ray ends up having a heart attack on the train, subway train station, and he looks up and he sees that it's Light.
Which is a very classic serial killer kind of thing, to just reveal who you are just as you're killing the person.
Yeah, that's so, like it totally gave me chills because, And then next thing we know, all the FBI agents have been killed by heart attacks. And Elle says, you know what? This guy doesn't have a sense of justice. Just will destroy whoever is opposing him. It doesn't matter. And
pointing out how quick he was to kill Elle's double.
Yes, he killed Elle's double, and he said, clearly, Light isn't. Kira is not as a killer for justice as I want everyone to think he is.
Right.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna let you take over for a minute. I'm
Okay.
gonna mute myself.
All right. So L reveals that he's investigating all of the FBI, all of the cops who are working on the case, and at that point, Light's father, the chief, gives all of the cops working with him an out. Basically, says there's a real good chance you're gonna die on this job. So if you want to just walk away, go ahead. There won't be any repercussions.
Yeah. I like that Light's father is a really good guy. Like, he's just like this really good investigator. He's a really good morally sound guy. And it's his son. Like, that's like the worst part, is it's his freaking son.
Well, it's kind of a take on the idea that the kids of cops, or the classic is the preacher's kid, are the most rebellious.
Yeah, and so when Light is talking to his father, he says, "If anything happens to you, I'll find Kira and execute him myself." And I was like, wow. Okay, so I actually think that Light is developing like a dual personality.
Interesting.
Okay. And you really see it, and there's in the next couple episodes, you start to really see like this. Even his mom kind of brings it out in episode 8. She says something which I caught. But anyway, the music here, the guitar is fantastic, and I was like, John, you're gotta be all over this.
Well, there's the riff at the end that I like. The little that's at the end of every episode. I like that piece.
That part.
Well, no, that I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I was thinking that little arpeggio that they have at the end of every episode when they're finally they're in that pivotal moment of that last scene. But so there ends up being 6 working on the case.
Yep.
With Light's father. Well, including Light's father.
Yes.
Until they go to meet. Well, and then L calls them and says he wants to meet with them.
Yes. And they're shocked because they're like, wow, L is coming here. He's psyched out, and he pretended to be this guy before. So L must feel like, what's going on? Why is he showing up,
And if the guy who's claiming to be L here isn't the same guy who was in the OP, I would be questioning it. But I'm figuring since he's in the OP, that probably really is L.
Yeah. And the police officers actually bring something out there, like, hey, you never have to show your face. It's not fair. Like, we're the ones that are here doing the dirty work, essentially. So, everyone's like, is he going to send another proxy, or is he actually going to show up this time? And he does. He actually shows up this time.
And just as they're going to meet them, they lose another one. One of the other cops decides to walk away. Because I have in my notes, and then there were 5.
Yep. And also, so Ray Pember's fiance finds out that Ray has a heart attack, and she's like, no, it's Kira. Kira killed him. And now she's starting to have her wheels turning. Yeah. Now, for me, I thought that her character is brilliant. I love her character. Yeah. I'm not going to say any more until we get into it, because she's a short-lived, let's be honest, but she's a fantastic character. I wish she stuck around a little bit longer. So Elle, has been waiting and waiting to make sure to kind of like weed out like the people that he can really feel would be trustworthy to continue this case. And I love that Elle is just as detail-oriented as Light. Elle is tit for tat, like just as cautious and just as 10, 20, 30 steps ahead thinking as Light is.
As Leandre pointed out, he's the polar opposite. Yeah. And he's the old cliche, the yin and yang. He's where Light is very fastidious and precise and obsessive. L is disheveled and eccentric.
Yes, but at the same time,
he's just as particular and just as brilliant. And I'm gonna say probably just as insane.
Yes, yes.
Don't know particularly yet, but
when we meet Elle, you know, Elle is this very strange looking character. You would never think that this is Elle.
I love Elle. He's like one of my favorite anime characters now.
Yeah. So I love the end of this episode was kind of like a side by side. It's like Elle and then Light, and then it's like dun, dun, dun. It's like a showdown. So, and I also put that Light is starting to look really dark. It's already starting to seem more sinister.
Yeah.
So
they're the lines that they're giving him. I think they're probably giving him a few more lines in the face, and they're probably thinning him out just from an artistic standpoint. I would be really interested, since this is an anime thing, and it doesn't really fit this style, but have his eyes gotten smaller?
You know what? Let's check it out.
I need to check that from the first episode, because that's a thing in anime. You know, people always talk about the big eyes. The good characters have bigger eyes than the small characters.
Right. Good point. Maybe in like different scenes, like some scenes his eyes were bigger, and other scenes his eyes are smaller. To note like this change. Yeah. I totally think that Light has developed a dual personality. Like I really think that like he doesn't realize it, but he's got like two personalities.
Well, he definitely has the good son thing going in front of his parents and his sister.
Yeah, but I want to almost think that he really believes it. Okay. You know, he really deeply believes that he's still the good son. You know, like he still thinks that there's some sort of justice that he's doing, even though he's now killing innocent people and he's now killing law enforcement people. You know, like he still has this very convoluted sense of
because it feeds his original goal of basically being the most powerful person in the world and ruling the world with an iron fist.
Well, I think it's more than that.
Or an iron notebook.
And Light, Elle actually brings it out in episode 6, so we can go right into
move on to episode 6. Yeah.
So Elle, as we were saying, is not what we expect. He's very disheveled. He has like crazy hair.
And I just noticed in this one how hunched over he is in the OP.
He's very hunched over. He's barefoot. He sits on chairs, but actually
he perches on the back of the chair.
Huh?
He like perches on the back of the chair.
Yeah, he's like a bird. Like he just like perches himself, which I think is kind of funny, you know. But and if you think about it, though, it kind of makes sense if he's a bird, because he kind of like is very observatory.
Yeah.
He just sits there and he looks at all of the situation. It's like, okay, well, this happened. I mean, it's brilliant. The breakdown of how he figures out who they need to focus on is brilliant. So
I want to be Elle when I grow up. I'll just say that.
Right?
Like that's how much I love this character.
He's brilliant. I love his character. I think he's probably one of the most interesting quiet characters. He reminds me of a character I watched an anime called Heaven's Memo Pad.
Okay.
And she's very similar. She's a child, like I think she's like 12 or something, and she dresses like in like vintage almost style stuff, but she's very strange, like very analytical, has like a million computer screens all over, and she's tracking like all this different data, but she's brilliant. Anyway, I should post that.
And Elle gets kind of Batman in the next one, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So and we get to the meeting. They walk into he's in the hotel room, and the 5 cops walk in, and they're all introducing themselves.
Yep.
And I love this, just how immediately Elle comes to this. He just says bang, 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 because he now has their names and their faces. If he had been Light,
if I were Kira, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
He said, "Stop giving your names out so carelessly." He recognized right off the bat that was what Ray Pember got him killed.
Yeah.
You know, so and he actually he goes on to further talk about how he analyzed how Ray Pember was forced to put himself in a situation where everything just seemed too obvious. It seemed too good that like the situation happened. Next thing you know, he's the one who's dead.
Yeah.
A week later. And I love how in this episode, I think is where he kind of gives a breakdown of how he explains how
he goes into Light's whole profile and all of his tactics. I loved that.
So first thing Elle talks about is how Kira is childish and hates losing.
Well, just roll back real briefly. There's a gag I loved right before that. He tells them all to turn off their cell phones and put them on this table. And one of them says, I forget exactly what the cop said, but basically, is that a security risk? It's like, no, I'm just really distracted by them.
Yeah, I like that too. Because cell phones are really distracting. Like I've been out without my phone for like over a week now, and it's actually really nice, even though I have to get another one too. So
I ignore mine most of the time. So
it's nice not having a phone sometimes. So Elle, I keep getting into
Elle and Light. Well, we find out his real name soon, so it'll make it a little easier.
So
or his second name.
Yeah. Elle starts off by saying, okay, let's talk about what we know. Kira is childish. She hates losing a game. He said, I'm the same way.
I know this because I'm childish and I hate losing.
Right. And I love that Elle makes the comparison continuously throughout his analysis about how Elle is the same as Kira. And so the way that he would think of things is the same way that Kira would think of things.
And that also sets up a very stark difference between them. Elle is self-aware.
Yes.
Light is in no way, shape, or form self-aware.
Yes. And and Elle recognizes that he would be just as cautious and just as aware. And even going into episode 8, he picks up on it and he's like, yeah. So he realizes that Kira's met all the challenges head on, and he's now holding the whole world as hostage. And he's trying to say that, I'm not the evil one. Those who oppose me are the evil ones. So he realizes that, how can we kind of mess with him in a way, So he says, well, why don't we try to overwhelm him, because if we give him 1,500 FBI agents coming after him, and now he has more people than he can handle, now what is he going to do? So he also mentions that Kira is a lone wolf and he has access to classified information. Yeah. And they said, well, how do you figure that? He's like, well, we didn't give out who was coming to Japan. We didn't give out a lot of the names of convicts that were killed. They weren't put in media. So there's got to be some sort of leak coming from your department. And to which the chief is like, oh, okay. And hence why he says no phones, no notes, no anything. Nothing here leaves this room. You put all of this to memory. Yeah. Because any sort of minutes that are taken would be able to be accessed by Kira.
Nothing on paper, nothing on any kind of media that Light can get a hold of.
Exactly.
But when they're talking about, let's see how he handles 1,500 agents coming after him, they decide they're basically going to swerve him. They're going to make him think that they're, the entire forces of Interpol are coming down on him.
Exactly.
And one of the cops at that point says, there are 7 of us, but it's only going to be that small group. Who is the 7th? Was it Watanabe? Because he was talking about Watanabe.
Yeah.
Watanabe wasn't really that involved yet.
No. But
that's the only 7th I could think of them. Yeah, they were talking about.
So go ahead.
Well, they get through this plan, and then there's this bit of how there's the pep talk bit, which irritated me a little bit. Yes, we can do it. All of the cops talking about how they're all inspired, and
I think it's because if you think about it, like the FBI agent was just killed. Yeah. And then all 12 FBI agents that were sent as joint task force with the Japanese police department were killed.
Right.
So that makes it really, really nerve-wracking. I mean, that's why the chief was like, hey, if you don't want to do this,
Right.
I get it, Right. So they kind of needed that, like, positive, yay, we can do it. Let's be
yes.
for a minute. So
it was a little annoying to me.
Leandre's here.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, better late than never.
Right, awesome. I'm happy you made it.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a meeting that ran over.
That's okay. I'm figured whenever you could jump on, that would be cool. So we're actually in episode 6 now.
We just got past. It's the episode after the big mass killing that we were all, waiting to talk about.
Great Pembo stuff.
Awesome sauce. Cool.
So I really want to go over this way that Elle figures out how exactly. How exactly that Ray Pember's case, whatever he was working on, has to be who one of the killers is, or who Kira is. So he starts off by talking about December 14th is when 12 FBI investigators went to Japan. And then on the 14th is when he starts investigating how to kill. Because he starts doing, like, about a week before about what extent he can control and make people do things before their death.
Right.
So then December 27th, he gets all the names of the FBI. So they said that, okay, so between December 19th and 27th, he's mixing things to kind of create decoys. So he's realizing all of a sudden, then he says, okay, so the reason why is because something happened on the 14th. And between the 14th and the 19th, whoever was being investigated is the one that is Kira. And it was like, boom. All of them in their room were like, holy shit. This guy is, like, beyond pro. And he's sitting there with, like, a matrix drawing shit out. I loved it. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So, and then I love that he says that, my being here says, yeah, I lost the battle, but I'm determined not to lose the war against him.
There's a bit at the beginning of 8 that perfectly spells out why I love Al. The first scene, but we'll get to it. What they're doing while they're watching a certain death scene.
Which one?
The beginning of 8. They're eating ice cream while they're watching the subway tape of
yeah.
Loved that. We'll get to it. So we go back to they call her Naomi, but it's Naomi because she's American, right?
Right. She's Japanese, but moved to the U.S., I guess, at some point. So
Elle refers to her as Naomi, but then they show her name and it's Naomi. It's an American name that in the dub they're pronouncing with a Japanese accent.
Well, maybe it's initially her name, but when she came to the U.S., I don't know. Like,
it's typically spelled like the English name Naomi. It just seemed odd.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's investigating a bit further, and she realizes that Kira doesn't need to use a heart attack.
That's where I wanted to go. So I love that this is all set up because Elle says that there's one thing, right? And then Light keeps saying, like, yeah, there's one thing. There's just one thing that I'm missing. I know I'm missing something. And then all of a sudden, Ray's fiance shows up. And, and you can tell that Light is flustered by this, by feeling like that he's not in control of the situation. Because now he kind of is like, okay, well, I'm missing something. And he's not even studying. Like, and Ryo he points it out to him. He's like, you're not even studying. Like, he's like, who cares about studying right now? Like, I know that I'm missing something. So he's like, as long as the police don't think I can do anything but heart attacks, I'm good.
Yeah.
So that's why when she figures it out, she knows that he can kill in other ways, and she figures out that she needs to go to the police.
Yeah. And tell them what she knows. And
This is the situation for me that I got really annoyed with.
Okay.
Because she is an FBI agent.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell would she be talking to a child about
Yeah.
a
A case.
murder fucking case that is an international scale
Yeah.
serial murder case?
Just to bring everybody up to speed, she goes to the police station to try to talk to the investigator in charge of the case. White is headed there because he needed to drop off his father, something for his father that he'd left at home. They cross paths in the reception area, and Naomi is told that they're out of the office. They're not available. And Light tells her, well, one of them is my father. I'll call him. I'll leave a message. When he gets his phone back, he'll call me, and you can talk to him.
Before you jump into that, so I wanted to say, Light has been troubled by something, and he's like, okay, I know there's something going on. He's calling his dad's phone. His dad's not answering.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's really strange. So his mom's like, hey, listen, your dad's been working really hard. Why don't you, first she was talking to the daughter, Sayud, go and bring him a change of clothes.
Yeah,
and she's like, I don't want to do it. So then Light is like, oh, I'll do it.
I'll trying to get a hold of him anyway.
Yeah.
So he's pretending to be the good son.
Right.
And the reason why he's going there is he's trying to get closer to the investigation. Mm-hmm. He's trying to figure out, well, what do they really know? Because his dad hasn't been home. Right. His dad's computer he doesn't have access to because his dad's not home, so he doesn't know what's going on with the investigation. Mm-hmm. So when he's there is when he runs into Naomi, and Naomi is saying, I have really important information about Kira, about the Kira investigation. Well, she shouldn't, first of all, she shouldn't have opened her mouth that loudly in a police station where everybody can hear her.
Yeah.
Right. You don't know who's in there, who can hear.
Huh?
Because you don't know who's in there and who can hear.
Exactly. And then she decides that she's going to go and walk with Light and start discussing details of this investigation with a freaking 17-year-old child.
Right.
This is the issue I have with episode 7, which we're pretty much up to. So,
I wanted to strangle her. Like, let me point.
Okay.
I don't want to strangle her. She's an anime character. Okay? Don't freak out.
You're not going to come and get got killed on us. Just.
I just got really frustrated because I'm yelling I literally am screaming typing because I told you I didn't write out my notes this time. I was actually typing my notes this time, and I was like, don't do it! No! You can't trust his baby face! He is not what you think! And I was Light the whole time was like, you're such a wise and careful person. I was like, you're stupid!
Right.
Stop listening to flattery! And then Light is like, oh, you can trust me. My father's a police officer. He's the chief.
He's playing the good son.
He's playing the good son, trying to come on, tell me what you know, And then, she says, well, I guess I could trust you. Really? Really? Where's his creds? He needs creds to know that information. Come on,
Every once in a while, in fiction, you have to break reality to serve the story. This is clearly one of those cases.
My only thing, and this is kind of how I can say that maybe she, she was so overcome and stricken with grief that she lost her senses, which still I don't even believe.
Now, my issue with it.
I suspend my belief for that shit.
See, my issue is they broke, and I didn't even think about it on that level. You're absolutely right. And they broke reality to serve an episode that is nothing but the most egregious filler I have seen since I don't know when. All of my notes are play-by-play. I mean, there's a cool bit where they meet Watere and the bit with the belts, and that's great. But all of the stuff with Light and Naomi could have been covered in 6.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Leandre.
No, I'm just in agreement. It seemed like they took 7 and made it a redux of little tidbits of useless and wasteful information that could have been disseminated out amongst the other episodes. To me, it seemed like well, I call it a one piece, where they basically they needed to fill for time in order to give the writers and the artists time to actually produce additional content. So they said, okay, yeah, you know, well, we'll let the gopher write this one. We'll let the key grip sit down and give us some plot. Hey, key grip, come over here. Give us some information. And
I figured they were an episode short, but that makes more sense that the animators needed time.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
all it was.
agree with you because I think it's an important episode, and there's one reason why. Is because it needed to show how, because like I kept saying, there's one thing missing, there's one thing missing, there's one thing missing, right? So we need to figure out what that one thing was. In order for us to get to that one thing, we had to go through this whole bullshit with her basically telling him, yeah, I know exactly who the killer of Kira whatever is, you know? So she keeps talking to him. My whole issue with that was that why is she talking to him? Because he doesn't have creds. And then he feeds her this bullshit story about how he's part of the task force. Okay, if you're part of the task force, wouldn't you have some sort of ID or something? But he's smart. Light is a really smart SOB. And the reason why is because he knows that, okay, well, she thinks that everyone knows that he needs a name and an ID. That's what the police know, right? So as long as he has the name and ID, so he can tell her, well, I don't have an ID because, you know, we're trying to circumvent the situation because we know Kira can kill with a name and an ID. So I mean, I got to give it to him because he was thinking on his toes like the whole time.
Especially since you gave him a fake name at first.
Yeah.
And he tries to write the name down, and Ryuk's just over his shoulder laughing at him while he's writing the name down.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, he figures out that, oh, shit, she gave me a fake name, you know? And so he finally goes, okay, well, I got to get her to show her real ID to me. So he keeps talking to her, and she goes on to explain how she knows that whoever her fiance was investigating at that exact moment is Kira. And he goes, oh, shit. And he's like, oh, your deductive skills are excellent. And I was like, why are you talking so much? You're gonna die, bitch. Like, and then finally, at the end of it all, he's like, well, you know, we got to get to the task force. We got to tell everybody what you know, blah, 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 blah. So she gives her ID to him and says, okay, yeah, you know, I gave you a fake name before, but this is who I am. Oh, wonderful. And he says, yeah, well, you're never going to do that. You're never going to get to the task force because I'm Kira.
And I think either in 6 or early in 7, Light mentioned to Ryuk that he carries a piece of the notebook, a page from the notebook with him wherever he goes now, just in case.
That's where he starts to do that, right? Exactly.
Oh, I jumped into 7 about 7.
No, I was just that detail was left out. I just happened to remember. That's how he had a piece of it with him when he ran into her. He just decided to start carrying it with him.
Okay.
Yeah, he had insurance with him.
Yeah.
And something else that was instrumental about this episode is the point where we realize or come to the understanding that the Shinigami are not going to interfere with the activities of the Death Note directly. Like, you know, because, you know, Light was getting really paranoid, which would usually happen in cases like this, especially someone who is as megalomaniacal as Light is. You know, that paranoia goes hand in hand.
That's the perfect word for him.
Yeah, and he is. He's a megalomaniac. And for him to sit there and feel as though, oh, okay, well, my plan was so flawless, and I dotted so many of my I's and crossed my T's. This had to be supernatural in nature. This interference. So he instantly assumed that a Shinigami was involved, but no, that's not the case. And he made clear to him, you know, we don't care about you and what you do with the Death Note. We're not going to get involved either way.
Well, you can tell when he's writing down the fake name, Light's just laughing at him. Or Ryuk is just laughing at him. He doesn't tell him what the problem is. Doesn't tell him why he's laughing. Yeah. When she doesn't die, he doesn't. I don't even think he explained then. He waited for Light to figure it out.
Right.
Then he made him the offer again and said, "Do you want the eyes?"
Right. Exactly. While this is going on,
the more interesting side of this episode.
I love Elle is continuing to discuss things with the actual task, and he and Watanabe shows up, and I wrote Watanabe reminds me of Alpha.
Well, first exactly. First, Elle says, "Call me Ryuzaki."
Ryuzaki, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we now have his second name, which will be a little less confusing than L in Light.
Right.
And so he introduces Watanabe, who we finally see without the mask on, totally Alfred.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he gives them fake IDs and homing belts with homing devices in them, which
awesome.
Also very Batman.
Right.
Right.
I loved it. I was like, yes. So, and now while this is going on, there's this build-up that's going on between Light and Naomi.
Build-up or just killing time? Build-up or just killing time?
Well, yeah, I think they drew it out a little bit too long because, we kind of are like, okay, we get it. You need to kill her. We get it. Like, she knows everything, And he keeps talking shit to her, like, oh, my whole thing is, like, after one time saying your deductive reasonings and whatever, your brilliance, and then, wow, you're really, really cautious, like, that would make me suspicious of that person. Like, hey, there's something wrong with you. Like, you are TMI right now. Like, you are not need to know, and you are going into TMI. I am gonna cut this right here. That motherfucker. I'm going back to the station. That would have been me.
Yeah. Well, but he's just laying it on way too thick.
I almost feel like he was hitting on her.
Yeah, it kind of did feel that way a little bit.
That's the reason why it was working. Because she. Hey, listen. Okay. I've heard of people that get it like excited when I don't know. I mean, some people are morbid like that.
Okay, so, a little bit of attention in flirting could be effective, but if it felt like he was hitting on her, okay, first off,
I thought that he was hitting on her.
But I'm saying
I thought he was taking it to the next level.
I can understand, and I definitely see what you mean. But if she felt that way, well, I don't see how that would work, given that he's 17 and she just lost her fiance.
I don't think that she was necessarily thinking straight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
First of all.
Think about it from a shock. She was in a state of shock.
Okay.
Exactly. She's in a state of shock.
Yeah.
She's not verifying any sort of identification. So clearly she doesn't have half her brain.
She was clearly not being rational to begin with. You're right.
Right. So, like, I hate to say it, but, like, at that point I was like, all right, girl, you're done. Like, you're done. Like, you just gave the whole world, like, you gave the plate to Light and was like, here you go. Stick a fork in me. Pretty much.
And the end of 6 and 7, since we're pretty much to the end of 6, he kills her, has her commit suicide.
End of 7.
I'm saying, well, the end of these two episodes, 6 and 7, both, get really artsy and kind of annoying to me. 6 wasn't bad because it was just an overhead shot that got a little pastel. 7 wasn't irritating because he has her kill herself in the note.
Yeah.
And we don't see that because that's going to happen later once he's far enough away so as not to be implicated. So when she walks away, we see her walking up the steps to this imaginary gallows. It was just kind of overly poetic.
And what's really sad is that she tells him everything. She tells him how she thinks she could trust Elle and how she wants to deliver the message personally and all of this stuff. And then he keeps asking for her identification. And I was like, oh, God, come on. You can't be this dumb. Like, come on. The dude has asked you, like, 4 freaking times for your fucking ID. And he's
where
not
are we going with this? Yeah. Huh? By then, she should have been, where are we going with this?
She should have been like, what? I'm going to go. I'll see you when I see you.
Right.
And then gone. Because she figured it out. She knew all the pieces. She just didn't know that she was talking to the freaking killer.
Yeah. By the way, I'm past my hard stop time, but I did enjoy being in this session, and
I'm so happy that you're here.
yeah, I apologize for the short
No,
time.
don't worry. I'm really happy you're here. Happy Thanksgiving to you,
Same to
and
you. Happy
hopefully
Turkey Day.
next week we can resume again.
Yes.
Awesome.
Bye.
Looking forward to it.
Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
So now we are out of 7 now,
Mhm.
and I just wrote, "You are stupid."
and
Run.
all of that stupidity to serve and to fill out an episode and give Light one piece of information that he could have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, I think it kind of served more so the L story, you know, just to kind of further serve like how dark and I mean, if you want to go that route, I know the artistry was annoying to you, but it really was dark and it showed the overcast because in my opinion, the reason why the art went so crazy, because I agree with you, the art went like kind of batshit nuts.
Just at the end of 6 and 7 is the only time.
Yeah, like particularly 7.
Yeah, the gallows was just egregious.
It was really to kind of illustrate how light is going to the dark.
Perhaps. I think they just needed to establish, yes, she's going to go kill herself, but we can't see it because she's going to go home and, take some time to do that. And Light's going to be elsewhere, and we care about following Light.
Right, true.
So they just needed to say, yeah, that's what's going to happen in a quick way. Now, the beginning of 8, this is why I love Ryuzaki. They were eating ice cream while watching the security camera footage of Ray's death.
Have you noticed Ryuzaki loves like sweets, like he loves cake. He loves
he's childish. He said it.
Yeah, he's in that respect he's just like childish. Are you there? Uh-oh, you froze on me.
You completely froze up for a minute there.
So did you. I was like,
Okay.
So we realize that Light is being extra cautious now, and he decides that he's going to write like 3 weeks worth of names in the notebook just to be on the safe side because he just doesn't know what's going to happen. Then he deletes everything off his computer, and he like is just really taking all the precautions to the next level. L is, like you said, that he was starting to go over the video from the train, and L realizes that Ray must have noticed who his killer was, because at the end he looks up and he's trying to grasp, like he's like, I saw him.
Yeah, and they also noticed that when he gets off the train, he wasn't carrying the envelope that he was carrying when he got on the train. So
then L says, oh shit, Kira was on that train. And they're like, no way. Really? How do you figure? It's like, duh. So Light decides that, like I said, he's he knows that he's going to probably end up being under closer scrutiny from the task force because of the way the situation is now kind of unfurled. At the same time, L also says, well, wait, Naomi killed herself? How do I know that name? And they're like, well, she used to be an FBI agent. She worked with you on previous cases. He goes, she would have never killed herself. That she's not a weak person. So she was also killed by Kira.
And there's a great gag when he finds that out. He tells one of the cops that he can use his phone again. In fact, call this number.
Yeah.
And he actually uses that cop's phone and kind of impersonates his voice to get the information about Naomi's death.
The other thing that I thought was really kind of sad to me is that the chief, he's such a good guy. And he doesn't realize that his son is such an asshole. Like, he really doesn't believe that his son, because like, and the chief is such a good guy because he's like, even if it's like 1% that we might be harboring one of us is harboring the killer, even if the percentage of that is 1%, we're gonna do the cameras, we're gonna do the wiretaps, we're gonna do everything necessary to find this guy.
Well, he's the archetype which you need for both Light and Ryuzaki to play off of. He's just a good, stoic, heroic, pure good guy.
So Light comes home from school, nobody's there, and he's like, okay, and all of a sudden he's like, there's something weird. The house isn't the same. He goes looking in his room, he sees Ryuk. Ryuk is like, there's no apples for me. What the hell's going on? I'm like an addict for apples. Apparently apples.
Well, they establish that later. He's literally addicted to them.
They're like heroin for him or something. I don't know.
He says it's like cigarettes or drugs for him.
Yeah, something. So he starts like flipping out. He's like, I need apples. I need apples. And he's like, and he's like, come, like, he's like, doesn't say anything.
And the whole time, Light's not saying a word.
Right. And Ryuk is like, why aren't you talking to me? What's going on? So then he comes outside. He looks at his jacket and sees if there's anything bugged. He's like, all right, this jacket's good. All right. He's like, listen, there's bugs in the house. There's cameras in the house. I need you to come back inside, look for the cameras, figure out what's going on. And he's like, well, how do you figure all of this? He's like, I put a piece of paper in the door.
Well, but Ryuk points out your piece of paper wasn't moved.
Exactly. And he said, that's not the only thing I did. I put the door handle exactly horizontal, and then I kind of shifted it.
What I think he said, 3 millimeters down or something like
that. Yeah. And then I put a mechanical pencil
on the hinge so that if it opened too much, the lead would break. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, so the handle was messed with and the pencil lead is broken. So therefore somebody's been in my room. He's like, well, would it be your mom? And he's like, no, my mom wouldn't go in my room. So he's like, I don't know. So then he has these like hustler magazines.
Yeah.
Trying to be like, I know you bitches are looking at me, so I'm going to give you something to look at.
Distract them and just to...
Right.
I get for his own entertainment, for whatever, he pulls out these porn magazines that he's looking at while he knows he's on camera.
Right. And...
he also tells Ryuk in the previous scene, he tells Ryuk to lay off the apples, which is when we get the whole bit about, they're like cigarettes to him.
Yes.
And Ryuk is spending the next 10 minutes trying to find a blind spot.
Yes, and he's trying to find all the cameras as well. And in the meantime, Ryuzaki is like, this is too contrived. Like, this is obvious that this is fake. Like, worse than like a Gucci purse. So he's like, okay, well, we've narrowed down the list of suspects. And Light realizes that this is what's going to happen. They narrow down the list of suspects. He's prepared for this situation. He knows that there's cameras everywhere. He figures out when they're in the living room that there's even cameras in the living rooms because there's a broadcast that says that there's 1,500 FBI agents coming to Japan. Yeah. And he says that it's a desperate attempt to shock Kira. Yeah. And he obviously shows, that he's not impressed.
And this tips his hand to Ryuzaki. Ryuzaki sees him say this and he thought he doesn't say, obviously figure that out yet, but he kind of notes that it's odd and it kind of catches Ryuzaki's attention.
He notes to Ryuzaki that he knows.
Yeah.
He's like, I know. So then he decides after dinner he's going to get your favorite scene, a bag of potato chips, and he's going to eat them.
Very dramatically.
Potato chip, and he will eat it.
I have the quote
on his right hand.
I will solve equations. I have the quote. I'll solve equations with my right hand. I'll write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip and I'll eat it.
Yes, that's exactly
say it.
And then he says the witness to my alibi will be L himself. So in the meantime, L's just watching him do schoolwork. But clearly something else is going on.
And it was very clever once they revealed it. But as dramatic as that writing scene is in the first episode, that's how dramatically Light opens the bag of chips. And then he has that ridiculous line about, I'll solve the equations and the right names with the left hand, and I'll take a potato chip.
Yep.
and that was fine. And then he said, I'll take a potato chip and I'll eat it.
Yeah.
that was just too far for me. But then they reveal that he's got this little portable television hidden in the potato chip bag.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And Ryuzaki says, you know what? The Yagami household is too innocent.
Oh, and
it's
just
too good.
Yeah. Just before this, Ryuk tells him that there are 64 cameras hidden in his room alone.
Yep.
That's how heavily watched they are.
And he's sure that he's the main suspect.
Yeah.
So, Light's mother comes out and says, "Oh, it's garbage day. Give me your garbage." And then he says something like, "Oh, whatever," something like that. And then his mom's like, "You know, like, you used to say, like, oh, sure, mom," something like that.
Yeah.
You're changing. Something to that effect. And I was like, yeah, Light is changing. And then Ryuk says, "You're such a spoiled brat. A $400 LCD mini TV is what he had, and he threw it out."
Well, he said, I don't know if it's your, I don't know if you're
or something.
Yeah, I don't know if you're careless or just spoiled, but you just threw out a, however much it was, TV.
Yeah. Yep. And that is 8.
Have you caught up on any of the simulcasts?
I have not, but what I did do is finish Prison School, which is fantastic. I can't wait for season 2. I honestly can't even, like, it's so good.
I will have to catch up. I've just been I was under the weather for a couple of weeks, so I got a little behind. I had to drop a lot of the simulcast, basically anything I wasn't really in love with.
Yeah.
So I dropped. So I'm still watching Kagewani, which is awesome. They're bringing Kagewani is the kaiju.
Oh, I
didn't 8-minute kaiju one. It has the different art style.
Is it on Funimation or is it on
Crunchyroll? Oh,
okay. All right.
It's a 8-minute episode kaiju horror sort of thing with this very this art style that's more like traditional Japanese art. We have talked about it. I know we've talked about it.
I started it, but I haven't been able to continue it.
Really good. They're getting into a continuing storyline now. It's not just Monster of the Week.
Very cool. I'll check that.
Perfect Insider, like I said, 5 episodes in, I knew the killer. And they're just reconfirming it in the 2 episodes since then, giving me more information to think, yeah, it's this person. I'll be kind of disappointed if I'm right, because that will mean I figured it out halfway through.
I hate that.
But aside from that, I'm still loving the show. It's still just as brilliant as it has been.
I have to continue. I think I'm in episode 3, so I have a ways still to catch up.
5 is when they kind of give it away to me. Beautiful Bones. I'm 3 behind on Beautiful Bones. I like it, but it's so procedural.
Yeah. Oh.
It's really beautifully done, but I just have a low tolerance for procedurals.
Yeah, I agree. I like something. I don't mind if it's procedural, but if there's like some sort of deeper storyline intertwined,
Hopefully they'll work something like that in. Like I said, I'm a few behind. I'm only up to like 3 or 4. I think 4. So, I'm on the bubble with False Faces. Loved the first 2 episodes. 3 and 4 got a little fan servicey for me.
I mean, I haven't seen that one at all.
It was a very nice kind of mellow story, and then they get into the fan service. I mean, it's Catgirl fan service, so I like that. But it kind of came out of nowhere. And then in 5, they kind of start to introduce a harem.
Oh.
Because there was one character who was kind of interested in the main character who they got brought in episode 3, and that's fine, just one character. Because the 2 main characters there isn't really a love story there. And in 5, they introduce a second character who has a thing for him, so it's looking like it's going to be harem-y. He's not interested in any of them, so it's not the typical harem, but it started really good. Be
one that I wanted to watch. I remember I think I saw the preview for it and I said it looked really interesting, but
it started great, but it's getting real cliche real fast.
That sucks. Nah. I was gonna tell you, I rewatched Alnoa Zero. I will tell you, the dub is so much better.
Really?
I don't hate it as much as I did.
The dub actually improved the quality of the show.
Yes.
Wow.
Immensely. So I don't know what it is, but the dub actually made me appreciate the story more.
Maybe it was the translation, because the only dub I've seen and I've said this before, that I think is better than the sub is Fully Cooley, because they westernize some of the jokes and just can make it land a bit better.
I think a lot of it has to do with intonation.
Okay.
I think particularly the main character Inaho has more more emotion than his Japanese sub counterpart. So like there's more feeling coming from him, even though his face doesn't show it as much, but his pitch, I guess you would be and how he delivers is more believable at times. So in that respect, I thought it was really, really good. I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I thought.
Have you had a chance to watch any of Attack on Titan Junior High?
No.
It is so fun.
Really?
I expected to hate it, but you can tell they're fans of the show.
Really?
Whoever made it, you can definitely tell that they're fans, and they're referencing specific things, and it's completely made out of love.
It looks really adorable. I actually it was on my list to watch. So.
Chibi Mikasa is the most adorable thing I have ever seen in my life.
Really? I want one. I want to. Do they have them yet? They probably.
No, I don't think they have figures yet. But in all the characters in Titan and Junior High are all chibi'd out.
Yeah.
And Chibi Mikasa with the scarf and this like cardigan sweater, she's just so incredibly adorable.
Oh my god! Now I have to watch it.
It's on Kiss Anime. They're doing it week to week on there.
Oh, that's awesome! I'll watch it. I have to watch it because I have Funimation and I have a subscription for Funimation now. So
I had that for a while, but there wasn't quite. I had to choose between the two. I couldn't afford both. I went with Crunchyroll.
Yeah, no, I haven't had the time to catch up. It's been pretty hectic.
Yeah.
So, but I want to finish. I know House of Arslan got finished dubbing, I think. So I want to finish that. I like that anime. It's actually really good.
One I got to jump into soon that I mentioned to you is and I'm going to try to say the with the Japanese Yuri Kuma Arashi.
I think we talked about that one.
We talked about it on Messenger. I found out the translation, which most of it I knew. Arashi I wasn't sure about, but I did a little research on it. The translation, and I'll just say I found this because this was just on Messenger. We were talking about it. I'll mention it to everybody. I watch this site Pluto.tv. It's basically a way to watch, like, to channel surf, but with web video. And they've got a couple anime channels, and on one of them, I just happened upon the middle of this episode of this show, Yuri Kuma Arashi. It is incredibly surreal and just bizarre, really up my alley. Just weird shit.
You should post it in the community so I can see it.
The title, and two words you probably know from enough anime to know what Yuri, obviously Yuri, and Kuma. The translation of the title, Lesbian Bear Storm.
What? I was thinking
Yuri.
Yeah.
They don't really go too heavily on the Yuri. It's not like hentai or anything. At least not the little bit I've seen. It's more kind of cutesy relationship stuff. Yeah. But apparently
it's on Funimation or it's on Crunchyroll?
It's I'll go through Messenger. I don't know where I found the link. I think it might be on Kiss Anime. I usually go to Kiss Anime first. I think it's an older one.
That's really interesting.
But they don't go hentai with it. It's just like cutesy relationship stuff. But apparently bears became sentient and attacked the humans. So now there's this wall between the bear world and the human world. But the bears have invaded, impersonating these girls, and they're in a relationship.
That's interesting. I want to check that out now.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I'll post the link to it on Kiss Anime in the community.
Have you seen Iron Blooded? I think. Hang on. Let me double check it here real quick. I think it's Iron Blooded Orphans.
Sounds familiar. I haven't seen it though.
Iron Blooded Orphans. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my queue to watch. It's a Mobile Suit Gundam.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, the one that's currently airing. I did watch the first episode. It was okay.
Yeah, my friend said it's like gets really good. So
It was, the first episode was good. It's mech, which isn't really my gig.
yeah, that's true.
But beyond that, it was good. The only reason I decided not to continue was because it was going to be the mech, bring out the mech suits once an episode. It was going to be one of those shows. But for that, it seemed well done. I think you would really like it.
Cool. I'll check it out. I'm gonna add it to my queue.
Two other things going to bring up real fast. Just after the last hangout, I decided to revisit Capellion, which I've raved about before. Got 2 episodes in, it didn't live up. I don't know what happened. It's just not quite as good as I remember.
Oh wow!
So disappointing. So I think my birthday anime is definitely going to be Watamote. Really can't wait to get your reaction to that.
Nice. Yeah.
I think I remember during NHK you mentioned you were kind of socially awkward in high school.
Yes.
And I think you will very much relate to Tomoko.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I mentioned in the community, as of next week, I will be doing I'm calling it Mary Konemas, a month-long marathon of Satoshi Kon. 1 per week, 1 movie, and a few episodes of Paranoia Agent every week. I will be talking about that as we go, beginning with Perfect Blue, which will be very interesting because it's the one I didn't watch at the beginning of the year when I marathoned. Because I'd seen Tokyo Godfathers a couple years ago, loved it. Hadn't seen it, didn't think I'd seen anything else by the same director. You turned me on to Paranoia Agent.
Yeah.
I watched that at the beginning of the year, fell in love, and decided to watch his other movies. And I found out he did Perfect Blue, which I had watched a few years ago. So I figured I've already seen it. I won't bother with it. So now this will be
so good.
The thing is, I remember liking it, but the thing that I'm iffy on is the art style, because he had developed so much. It was almost 10 years before, Tokyo Godfathers and Paprika. So he had developed so much in that time that the art style is very primitive compared to his later stuff.
But let me pull this up real quick, because I don't know, like the story is what really makes that.
I remember loving the story, but it's the art style that's going to give me a little bit of a hard time getting through now that I've seen Paprika and Tokyo Godfathers.
You just have to think of it in a different way. Like, Millennium Actress is another one.
That's my second favorite of his. That's I think my second favorite anime film of all time.
Paprika, for me, made me feel crazy. Like, at the end of it, I was like, I felt like I was watching an extension of Paranoia Agent.
Yeah, I'm that way to begin with. I love that sort of thing.
So, I felt like it was just a continuation from Paranoia Agent.
Yeah. I can't figure
what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, yeah.
As I've mentioned, I love a good mindfuck. But my issue with Paprika is the ending disappointed me. It was a little too predictable, and the nice guy got the girl, even though he didn't really do anything to deserve it. And it was a little bit cliche. And the villain was kind of given away.
Did you continue Shinsekai Yori?
Not yet. I have it bookmarked on YouTube.
If you do it, you got to set aside like lifetime. You know what I mean? Like it's
marathon.
Once it gets going about halfway, it jumps, and then you don't really know what's going on until the last episode. Like, you still don't know what's going on, and then you're like, holy shit, like your mind just exploded.
Well, the first one left me a little confused as to what was going on, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, I really want to see your take on that. So, I think next week we might be able to do a hangout, probably either Tuesday or Thursday. We'll figure out like what everybody's abilities are. Probably Tuesday. I think Tuesday might be better for me. So, but we'll figure it out. And then we're doing 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Wow. So
well, not that much of a not that impressive when you realize it's 37 episodes.
Yeah, but
we're gonna be here for a while.
It's not even that. It's just we're gonna start getting towards more interesting stuff.
Oh, okay. This is the case where I haven't even looked at like episode summaries. I typically look ahead at the episode summary on Netflix. I am completely in the dark on this.
I can't wait to see your reaction to certain things. Let's just leave it there.
All right.
So I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Likewise, happy Thanksgiving.
And, I will see you next week at some point.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Good to see you.
Likewise. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.